Ernest Hemingway, born in 1899 in Illinois, served as an ambulance driver in Italy during World War I after working briefly as a journalist. He later became a correspondent in Europe before transitioning to fiction writing. Hemingway moved to Paris in 1922 and became associated with prominent expatriate writers. He wrote about the lost generation of Americans in Europe. He worked as a journalist and served as a private soldier during the Spanish Civil War and World War II. Despite a decline in his reputation after the war, Hemingway continued writing and received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1954. Tragically, in 1961, he took his own life due to a sense of diminishing ability. Cat in the Rain by Ernest Hemingway is a brief and introspective short tale published in 1925. It follows an American couple on a rainy day in Italy. A cat sheltering outside captivates the woman, who is seeking for affection and purpose. She returns empty-handed after the cat disappears. Hemingway's minimalist approach tackles issues of longing and communication, prompting readers to consider the characters' unfulfilled ambitions and the difficulties they experience in their relationship. Cat in the Rain by Ernest Hemingway.
There were only two Americans stopping at the hotel. They didn't know any of the people they passed on the stairs on their way to and from their room. Their room was on the second floor facing the sea. It also faced the public garden and the war monument. There were big palms and green benches in the public garden. In the good weather, there was always an artist with his easel. Artists liked the way the palms grew and the bright colors of the hotels facing the gardens and the sea. Italians came from a long way off to look up at the war monument. It was made of bronze and glistened in the rain. It was raining. The rain dripped from the palm trees. Water stood in pools on the gravel plots. The sea broke in a long line in the rain and slipped back down the beach to come up and break again in a long line in the rain. The motor cars were gone from the square by the war monument. Across the square, in the doorway of the cave, a waiter stood looking out of the empty square. The American wife stood at the window looking out. Outside, right under the window, a cat was crouched under one of the dripping green tables. The cat was trying to make herself so compact that she would not be dripped on.
I'm going down and get that kitty.
I'll do it.
No, I'll get it. The poor kitty out trying to keep dry under a table.
The husband went on reading, lying propped up with the two pillows at the foot of the bed.
Don't get wet.
The wife went downstairs and the hotel owner stood up and bowed to her as he passed the office. His desk was at the far end of the office. He was an old man and very tall.
Il piove.
Sì, signora, brutto tempo. It's very bad weather.
He stood behind his desk in the far end of the dim room. The wife liked him. She liked the deadly serious way he received any complaints. She liked his dignity. She liked the way he wanted to serve her. She liked the way he felt about being a hotel keeper. She liked his old heavy face and big hands. Liking him, she opened the door and looked out. It was raining harder. A man in a rubber cape was crossing the empty square to the cave. The cat would be around the right. Perhaps she could go along under the eaves. As she stood in the doorway, an umbrella opened behind her. It was the maid who looked after their room.
You must not get wet.
With the maid holding the umbrella over her, she walked along the gravel path until she was under the window. The table was there, washed bright green in the rain, but the cat was gone. She was suddenly disappointed. The maid looked up at her.
Ha perduto qualche cosa, signora?
There was a cat.
A cat?
Sì, il gatto.
A cat? A cat in the rain?
Yes, under the table. Oh, I wanted so much. I wanted a kitty.
Come, Signora. We must get back inside. You will be wet.
I suppose so.
They went back along the gravel path and passed in the door. The maid stayed outside to close the umbrella. As the American girl passed the office, the padrone bowed from his desk. Something felt very small and tight inside the girl. The padrone made her feel very small and at the same time really important. She had a momentary feeling of being of supreme importance. She went up to the stairs. She opened the door of the room. George was on the bed, reading.
Did you get the cat?
It was gone.
Wonder where it went to.
I wanted it so much. I don't know why I wanted it so much. I wanted that poor kitty. It isn't any fun to be a poor kitty out in the rain.
She went over and sat in front of the mirror of the dressing table looking at herself with the hand glass. She studied the profile, first one side and then the other. Then she studied the back of her head and her neck.
Don't you think it would be a good idea if I let my hair grow out?
George looked up and saw the back of her neck, clipped close like a boy's.
I like it the way it is.
I get so tired of it. I get so tired of looking like a boy.
George shifted his positions in the bed. He hadn't looked away from her since he started to speak.
You look pretty darn nice.
She laid the mirror down on the dresser and went over to the window and looked out. It was getting dark.
I want to pull my hair back tight and smooth and make a big knot at the back that I can feel. I want to have a kitty to sit on my lap and purr when I stroke her.
Yeah?
And I want to eat at the table with my own silver, and I want candles. And I want it to be spring, and I wanted to brush my hair out in front of a mirror. And I want a kitty, and I want some new clothes.
Oh, shut up and get something to read.
He was reading again. His wife was looking out of the window. It was quite dark now and still raining in the palm trees.
Anyway, I want a cat, I want a cat, I want a cat now. If I can't have long hair or any fun, I can't have a cat.
George was not listening. He was reading his book. His wife looked out of the window where the light had come on in the square. Someone knocked at the door.
Avanti.
In the doorway stood the maid. She held a big tortoise shell cat pressed tight against her and swung down against her body.
Excuse me. The padrone asked me to bring this for the signora.
Hey, what are your thoughts on the story?
I think A Cat in the Rain is not just about a cat, but it is about the loneliness of the wife of the American couple. The story shows how a wife lacks attention from her husband. She feels lonely and hopeless, and her only hope is to rescue the cat from the rain. Unfortunately, even this small act of kindness is unsuccessful, and she is left feeling even more alone.
I think this is a story about an American couple in Italy on a rainy day. The wife wants to save a cat she's outside because she feels unhappy and wants affection, but she can't catch the cat and it makes her feel frustrated and unsatisfied. The story explores feeling of longing, loneliness, and the need for connection. Hemingway's writing style brings out the couple's emotions and shows how small moments can impact in our lives.
What do you think about the relationship between the American wife and her husband? What are their dynamics and how do they evolve throughout the story?
The relationship between the American wife and her husband in Cat and Rain is distant and unfulfilling. The wife seeks attention and companionship, but her husband is indifferent and absorbed in his own activities.
Yeah, I think they lack emotional connection and understanding. Although there is a slight shift in their dynamics when the wife finds comfort in observing her husband at the end.
Overall, their relationship remains characterized by disconnection and unmet needs.